welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices, where our story today is about what if we left? What if Black Americans left? And one of the three areas we were looking at is social justice. And we're going to go ahead and close on the social justice because we're looking at the lack of organization in Minneapolis in relation to the organization of our protests. We're going to say back in the day. We had songs, we had identifiable leaders. Who are the identified leaders with these protests being organized or the lack of organization by white America? So one of you guys want to pick up on this discussion? We need the marketing. There's a marketing issue. There's a lack of organization issue. Who's feeding these people while they're marching?
According to them, Soros is, right? But no, I mean, I'll just jump in and then Mario, he would take it because I know this is his deal. But no, it's just from somebody who's on the outside looking in, right? Again, I'm on the outside looking in. And I'm asking the same questions, like how are they organizing? Where's the leadership? And just from remembering the height of the Black Lives Matter protests, right? And so even when you had that, right? You had this new generation, we're gonna take to the streets and we're gonna do this protest by Twitter or protest by Instagram. And we're gonna let everybody know where we're at. But where was the institutional or structural leadership that says when we go to jail, these are the lawyers we call, these are the numbers we call, you know what I mean? Whereas you had the elders, the people who understood protests, right? They kind of sat on the sidelines. And so the institutional muscle, like the NAACP, who knew about lawyers, who knew about, what to do, who to call, who had the inbuilt infrastructure, right? And so I'm looking at this protest and I'm wondering, where is this inbuilt infrastructure? Where is it coming from? Who's organizing this? Who's organizing the food? But again, at the same time, while asking these questions, while it does provide institutional muscle, does it delegitimize in some way and give way to the narrative that these are staged or these are Soros funded or these are this, you know what I mean? So I guess there's two sides to the same coin. Do you want this institutional muscle and this organization, or do you want it to still seem as organic as possible, right? So that's kind of
Mario?
Well, in political science, there's a thing called spontaneity, where people are so upset about being treated so badly one way or another, their democratic rights being eroded, and they just spontaneously head to the streets. And there's a benefit to spontaneity, but it can't keep going that way. The importance of mass mobilization cannot be underestimated. But in mobilizing people to take action, you have to have the component that talks strategy. And so that when the mass action takes place, there's a specific strategy that goes along with it. And so mass action without specific strategy and without specific leadership will probably just stay mass action and not develop any furder.
So we're looking, what are the tangibles? What are the legislation that they want?
It could just wash itself away.
Right.
Kind of like what happened with the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
It didn't have longevity.
Right.
And it should have had longevity.
Right.
And that has to do with if you don't have strategy, leadership strategy, someone looking like beating metal on an anvil. You got the hammer of mass action, and then and the anvil has to be the people who develop the strategy and develop the tactics that should be used. And so they're not doing that as much as they should. They're trying, but they're going to have to gel. But the circumstances of trying to turn this country into a dictatorship may be the thing that forces them to turn the corner.
So and that brings me to my question, right? We're talking about the leadership, right? And so where's LULAC, right? Where are the leading Hispanic organizations that have been built over decades, right? That we've seen the Si Se Pueda and all these other massive movements, right? That support immigrant community or migrant farm workers and stuff like that, the people who are actually being targeted, right? So where these people who have this muscle, right, who have this infrastructure, where are these huge Hispanic organizations? How do they interrelate to each other? Are they sitting on the sideline saying, this is our fight, this is not our fight?
Yeah.
That's my question.
But we have to also look at we can look at it from the context of the immigrant leaders. But if we swing it back to Black folks, okay? As Chris is always asking, who are our leaders? You know, we knew who we could throw them off. You know, say the names: Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. You know, we knew who the leaders were, but now, even within the Black community, we're going to have to really think about, when push comes to shove, who are our leaders?
Do we need them right now? Because it's not our fight.
Well, still we need to start seeing some development.
The complication with LULAC, we don't have time to go through this historically, but it also has to do with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, where the border crossed over the existing population. They moved the border. Mexico tried to assure that the rights would be protected. It never happened. And so then people began to say, well, if I start saying I'm white and they're Mexican, then maybe I'll be accepted. Right. So even within LULAC, right, you still got that crowd that thinks that they can still be white.
Right.
And when in fact they can never be white.
Right.
And so even within LULAC, you've got that division of having to deal with those people. And we see that manifested when Trump was elected. You know, all those Latinas, that group Latinas for Trump. Yeah.
And the Cubans.
It's manifested. So within LULAC, there's an internal battle that's going on. They're still trying to figure out who's white and who's not.
So as we get closer to the end of this segment and going back to the question of the show, what if Black Americans left, and we're talking about within the context now of only social justice?
Well, the thing is, I mean, what left to go where? To the Congo, or murdering each other? One tribe is savagely murdering another tribe.
So our leaving really is based on the nap theory, where we just sit home, and we're watching you, America. We have some documented plans on how to solve these issues, but the issue is, are you willing for us to lead this for America so that we can come out of this mess as a whole? You know, so we're sitting back, we're resting, we're watching, we're getting to, talking about, when you guys gonna come back and help us? Open the history books. The plan is there. The plan is there. You know, we've got some things we need to take care of within our community when we know this. But in the meantime, we're sitting back resting.
Right. Yeah. Oh, let's also real quick though, let's explain to the viewers. We had the initial topic, right, of what happened. We had an entire slate of things that we were going to discuss.
Yeah, they messed it up.
Yeah, economically and everything. But our first segment, we got to talking about
social justice
and protest, and that's what carried over into these other segments. But we want to let you know we did, and we will pick these up again. We will talk about a whole host of our contributions to society and what would be lacking if we did leave. What happens to economically, socially, structurally, all the contributions that we make globally as far as culturally. American culture is African American culture. So that's what sells. But we'll pick that up.
We want to invite you to meet us on Hot Topics because we have one segment is White America's Trauma. So why don't you slide on over to Hot Topics with us, and we'll talk about probably a lot of this within that segment. With that being said, this is Contemporary Black Voices. Where
good.
You good? Where we
I want to get to the next segment.
Where we tell our story our way.